Major social media platforms continue to gradually warm up to cannabis. As Meta rival Twitter announced it will allow some CBD and THC ads last February, Meta is taking steps as well by continuing to loosen up restrictions for CBD-related ads. On July 11th, Facebook posted an announcement, unveiling Meta's new policy on CBD and related products in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and changing some of the language from hemp to CBD. 6 months into the launch of Connecticut's adult-use marijuana market, the state saw nearly $24 million in combined medical and recreational cannabis sales in June, a record monthly high, according to the Department of Consumer Protection. Since adult-use sales began 6 months ago in January, Connecticut cannabis purchases have collectively totaled about $122 million. June also marked the second month in a row where adult-use sales $12.5 million exceeded medical marijuana purchases $11.3 million. People purchased 313,510 recreational cannabis products during the month, compared to 303,293 medical marijuana products. The department also released data showing the types of marijuana items that consumers are buying, with 53% of sales coming from cannabis flower, 25% from vape products, and 10% from edibles. Maryland's first week of regulated sales of adult-use cannabis totaled more than $20 million, only 8 months after voters legalized recreational marijuana in the 2022 general election. Legal sales of adult-use cannabis began on July 1st, with nearly 100 of Maryland's medical marijuana dispensaries now licensed to sell cannabis to all adults aged 21 and older. During the first 7 days of adult-use cannabis sales, retailers sold $20.9 million in licensed cannabis products, according to data from the Maryland Cannabis Administration. About half of that total, $10.4 million, was generated during the opening weekend of sales. The Maryland Cannabis Administration projects that the state's first year of recreational marijuana sales will generate up to $600 million for the newly legal industry. And with adult-use cannabis products taxed at a rate of 9%, the state stands to take in about $54 million, which will be spent on the regulatory costs of the program, community reinvestment, public health initiatives, and funding for local governments. Police in the United Kingdom arrested more than 1,000 individuals and confiscated more than 180,000 cannabis plants in a recent push to crack down on illegal marijuana cultivation. The eradication campaign, dubbed Operation Millie by United Kingdom law enforcement officials, was carried out throughout the month of June and involved every police force in England, Scotland, and Wales, according to media reports. Steve Jupp, the National Police Chief's council lead for serious and organized crime, told reporters that the operation had successfully disrupted a significant amount of criminal activity. Operation Millie was the largest cannabis eradication campaign to date, with more than 11,000 police officers across the United Kingdom participating in the month-long drive. The National Crime Agency and Immigration Enforcement were also involved in the operation, which saw the execution of more than 1,000 warrants during the month of June. Of the more than 1,000 arrested, 450 have since been charged with an offense. Leaders in 3 state parliaments in Australia, Victoria, NSW, and Western Australia, introduced draft laws simultaneously on June 20th to push for adult-use cannabis. The Regulation of Personal Adult Use of Cannabis Bill 2023 would allow adults who are lawfully in possession of cannabis to gift it to another adult in those jurisdictions. It would only allow people 18 and older to access it and would make no changes to the crime of selling cannabis. The proposed legislation would allow adults to possess and grow small quantities of cannabis at home, and it is similar to Australian Capital Territory Bill that came into effect in 2020. The European Monitoring Centre for Drugs and Drug Addictions report, entitled Cannabis, The Current Situation in Europe, describes cannabis as by far the most commonly consumed illicit drug in Europe. The report cites national surveys which show that 8% of European adults have used cannabis within the last year. An estimated 1.3% of adults are described as daily or almost daily consumers. With the popularity of cannabis continuing to grow, the report notes that this often leads to consumer problems. There remains, however, a need to understand better the kinds of problems experienced by cannabis users, as well as the referral pathways and treatment options available for those with cannabis-related problems, the report stated. Lawmakers in Luxembourg on Wednesday approved a measure to legalize marijuana for personal use, making it only the second country in the European Union to take such a step. According to Forbes, a majority of 38 deputies voted on Wednesday in favor of a bill legalizing cannabis home cultivation and possession for recreational purposes, while 22 deputies voted against it. Adults in Connecticut will be able to start growing their own weed beginning this weekend as the state's law permitting home cannabis cultivation goes into effect. Connecticut legalized recreational marijuana 2 years ago, leading to the launch of regulated sales of adult-use cannabis earlier this year. On Tuesday, officials with the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection marked the impending legalization of home cannabis cultivation, which goes into effect on Saturday, July 1st. Under the regulations for home cannabis cultivation, adults 21 and older are permitted to grow up to 6 cannabis plants, including 3 immature and 3 mature flowering plants. Plants must be kept secure from children, pets, and others who should not be allowed access to cannabis.